Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to Live from NCCE. And today it's all about creativity and STEAM. And I'm not talking the steam that comes out of your ears. I'm talking about science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And we have the most amazing creative person here with us, Tim Needles. Wonderful to have Tim. Tim is, oh my gosh, you got ISTE's Technology in Action Award and Creativity Award. You've got a book out, I think, Steam Power, Infusing Art into Your STEM Curriculum. You're a TEDx talker. You are amazing. And you've got a great YouTube channel. And I cannot wait to hear how you're going to tell us how to infuse AI into technology and STEM and STEAM. And we're all fired up. So go for it, Tim.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm an art teacher primarily, and I've been working for over 25 years teaching art and media. So I always go to conferences and love learning and sharing, connecting with people. So I wrote a book, Steam Power, that really just shares 25 of my favorite projects that I've done over time. I just feel like one of the things I learned as a teacher is that learning doesn't need to stop at the classroom door, right? Why not just pass on all of your knowledge and share it with everyone. So I'm really excited that we have a second edition of my book that comes out next month. And you can see it is already up on Amazon for pre-order. Super exciting. So I wrote 2 new chapters and I redesigned the cover, which is amazing. So I always wanted to design my own cover. So I made a 3D print and I literally painted it myself. I even made a little video showing how I did the cover from the first edition and the second edition. So it's really fun to be able to share and then connect. And I speak all over the country and share some of STEAM. So, as an artist, one of the things I learned is that it's really just helpful to connect and bring in other ideas, whether it's, engineering or technology. I've always been interested in technology anyway, and it's kind of such a big part of everything that we do as teachers these days, that it's an easy one to integrate. So STEAM isn't just those 5 things. It's not just science, technology, engineering, art, math. It's really any interdisciplinary work because, I love travel, I love different languages, and I love working with language teachers and librarians. So any kind of interdisciplinary work. And it's really fun. I have a YouTube channel where I share different lessons. And one of the things that happened is, because of all the work that I was doing, I started, sharing more and more and working with other teachers. So I was able to actually, change my role in my district. So after teaching high school art and media for 25 years, I began collaborating more and doing PD in my district. And then I got a role of technology integration specialist. So I started the secondary, and then next year they decided to just make me K-12 and work with everyone because the elementary teachers were working with me as well. So I have a YouTube page where I make a different video each week. It's called Emerging EdTech. And the idea is that, teachers are busy and it's hard to learn all these new tools. There's so many things out there, like which one's right for me, which one's right for this project. So I literally just make a video each week and I share it with all of the teachers in my district. And then I said, let me just put them on YouTube and share it with everyone. So they're always under 5 minutes because I understand the teacher's timeline. I also have a bunch of creative challenges, which are fun and interesting. And I love kind of sharing some of this work that I do. So as a teacher, I think one of the things that I find is most important is really just connecting with students. So that connection is the most important thing that we do. You never get to the really good work until you actually start connecting. So it's not just using technology in interesting ways. It's first I like to learn, who are these students? What do they really care about? And how do I access that so I could kind of make what we do more interesting? So one of the things I like to do is that, I'm an avid traveler and I like to share my love of travel with students. So, there's no better lesson of interdisciplinary learning than traveling. Traveling teaches you so much. So I also bring students every year on different trips. So this year we went to the Galapagos, right? Life-changing trip. Really fascinating. And what I decided to do is I made a web page and I would share every day with the parents what we were doing so they had an idea. So we flew to Ecuador and then to the Galapagos, and we explored. So, one of the things that I like to do is not just, do STEAM, but like, have a focus. So one of the focuses that we like to introduce is taking action, in terms of the environment. So, I live on Long Island in New York, and the Galapagos is similar in some respects in that it's an island that has a lot of species that are only living there. So it's a really interesting place to explore. So, we created a web page and to kind of share the learning. So, this is the students that I traveled with, and I kind of did like a day by day what we were doing. One of the things that you kind of learn when you're traveling is that, like, learning happens in unexpected ways sometimes. So, like, even in Quito, the capital of Ecuador, we were going to cathedrals and churches and kind of learning a lot. I'll tell you, there's no better science project than going to the equator. Super cool. This is latitude zero, and it's really fascinating. So, like, I was filming like the students actually walking the equator, because it kind of throws you towards one way or another, because of the centrifugal force of the planet moving. So, like all of these kind of amazing experiences that you're having, we were sharing. This is one of the big highlights for us, for sure. We got to snorkel with sea turtles, sharks, and sea lions. So amazing experience. Like, when I was taking this picture, I'm like, I can't believe this is my picture. It's, it feels like something you would see in like National Geographic. But, it's an authentic merging of art and technology and science. And then, like, the math and the engineering parts kind of come into, when we're on the boat and we're kind of planning to go out there and things like that. So these are the really kind of fun, authentic lessons that we do. And it's a great way to kind of use the experience to kind of share. We had a chance to go see the Galapagos turtles that are really famous, and learn more about them. And, some of them actually have like a bunch of plants growing on them, and that's how you could tell how old they are. So, it's this kind of like merger of art and video. And this is like street art there. And we talk about the culture and the food, of course, and all of that kind of thing. So, I'm a big advocate of bringing creativity regardless of what you're doing. So it's really fun in my current position to kind of use these tools to learn a little bit about, not just the curriculum, but, these other sort of authentic things. So, like, I change the focus each year, and we kind of like work on different projects. And I also like to be really collaborative. So, like, we were working with students in different cultures, and, language is obviously a part of that. And it's a lot of fun. So, like, we were also using tools. So, like, I did this website on Adobe Express, and they have a really easy build a web page piece there. And, one of my favorite tools. So, sometimes when I work with science or math teachers, like, it's kind of sometimes people are not really sure how to work creativity into something. And this is one of the easiest ways in the world to do it. So, this is Animate with Audio. That is found within Adobe Express. By the way, it's a free tool. So, if you don't have it or you haven't used it, you're able to just choose any character. There's hundreds of them here. Choose any background. You could even upload your own image and choose any size. And there's a little filter there for enhancing your speech. So, I love this tool because it's good for like assessments rather than a traditional test or quiz. You could have students actually talk about what they learned. It's good for like bell ringers. It's great for storytelling, obviously. And you could weave a couple of these together, have students, some of the backgrounds that you have here are even like transparent. So you could layer a video on top of another video. And there's lots of different options here in terms of backgrounds and things like that. But I'll show you how it works if you haven't seen it before. Hey, NCCE, we're learning how to create animations with just audio. It's so much fun, right? So it actually shows you how the AI does each step. It's waiting in the queue, and then it will do, usually it starts with the mouth movements, and then the body, and then every character is a little bit different. But, I taught animation for 25 years. So, we started with stop motion animation, which is always fun. I still love it. We did flip books, and you could kind of tie any other subject into this, which is fun. And then, of course, now with the AI infusion, you're able to do animation just with audio. So, I mean, I've done this with almost every single different grade, and you're able to take a quick look at it. Right? So the more animated your voice is, the more animated the character is. If I like it, I could just hit download, or I could open it up in the editor. So it's super easy, a lot of fun, and I'll show you what it looks like. Hey, NCCE, we're learning how to create animations with just audio. It's so much fun, right? And you're able to then just bring it in. You could add text and other things. So super easy to do, and a lot of fun. So, this is something that if you're not used to using creativity with projects, it's a very easy way to start. You just hit that animate your voice. You're able to pick any character you want to, and they have them all sorted, but you could kind of go through all of them if you want to, and then backgrounds and sizes. So, it's a fun way to work with students, and this is something I use in all different kinds of ways. So, like when we're talking about STEAM, I'll show you a couple different ways that I kind of use this. So, very recently I decided to try something kind of crazy this year, and I did this with the entire fourth and fifth grade of an elementary school. So here's a quick look. So, it's challenging with kindergarten, first grade. I prefer to actually write things out first, but I'm going to show you a quick snippet of this. Definitely the cutest project I've ever done. I always love how different the boys and girls are.
Chocolate and watch a Christmas movie. Hi, my name is Timmy. My favorite winter activity is a snowball fight. Hi, I'm Lilia. And in the winter, I like to build snowmans with my family and be with my brother and watch and drink hot chocolate watching movies with my family. Hi, my name is Jordan, and I like to make a snowman.
So super cute, and a lot of fun. And it's one of those projects that really makes a difference, because every student got a chance to actually work a little bit with animation, learn a bit about how AI works, and have a fun experience where they're kind of sharing who they are. So that's really key to me. So, some of my advice when we're talking about STEAM work is, in the beginning of the year, since we're towards the end of the year. I know some people are just a few days away. Congratulations to you if that's the case. So, in the beginning of the year, I always like to do some kind of self portrait to begin with, because you get to put a name with a face really quickly. And it also really helps, because you're able to kind of see what students care about. So, I usually do a self portrait that also has, some way where they're sharing something that they really liked or what they did this summer that they enjoyed. So, it helps because you want to connect to students and kind of use some of that material in the work that you're doing to kind of make sure that they're engaged. So that helps a lot, and it does mean that you need to do maybe a little bit more research because kids are into all different things. I know more about Pokemon than most 40-year-olds. So like it's the kind of thing where it helps quite a bit to kind of get a sense of what the themes are that a lot of students care about and how you can kind of infuse that into some of the work you're doing. And it's really also nice to kind of show off, how you're using technology. It's a good starter, and then you can kind of use that in multiple different ways. So, one of the things that I like to do is build projects upon projects. So, one of the things that we do is like we'll start with a simple template in the beginning of the year, and then kind of build on it. So, I'll show an example of another uh, video. This is one again done with animation, but this one is one that we actually do in high school. So similar, but a little bit different. And one of the things that we are able to do is, we actually gamify it. So we have the students actually create a background before we do the animation, just like very simple, like 4 different elements where you're able to see what is, you're able to put in information. So like this is an example we did in a science class where we're talking about the planets. So each student got a different planet or a star or some kind of, solar body. And then we created a guessing game about which planet it was.
Well, sometimes this is called a jewel of the solar system. A year on this planet is more than 29 years on Earth. And you can't stand on this planet because it's mostly gas. In fact, in 2034, NASA's sending the Dragonfly, a dual rotor quadcopter like a drone, to one of its icy moons. And it was named after a Roman god, just like my favorite day of the weekend. Can you guess what planet this is?
Any guesses?
That's right, it's Saturn.
Right. So it's kind of a fun way to use some of these elements. And you just, it's very simple. You're able to just create a background. Even in my own work, being able to write a book, I wanted to make sure that I shared that whole process with students. So I'll show you a little bit of this. This is the making of my cover of the book. So initially when I was designing it, I thought it was going to be a big challenge. I, drew it out in my sketchbook. I just took a picture of it. It actually came fairly quickly. So here's the initial drawing, and then there's a little cleaned up version just with Sharpie. I took a picture, I brought it into Photoshop and added the lightning bolt. And then I 3D printed it. So, there's a couple tools that make it very easy to go from a design to a 3D print. I happen to use one called Morphe that I believe is no longer available. It was bought out, but there's lots of different ways to do this. And then, I showed the students how we 3D printed it, and then it became a cover. So this was the initial version of it. And then, in turning to the new version of it, I wanted to keep something that was similar. So I took the 3D print and I experimented with painting it in different ways. So this is really an interesting STEAM project in itself because you had to do the math in terms of the proportions and designing the book cover and all the different parts. But, documenting this whole process is helpful because it also kind of empowers the students. Like I never saw myself necessarily as an author. I kind of, a friend of mine said, like, do you want to meet the editor of my book? And thought like, sure. And then I thought, am I supposed to have a pitch? I didn't really know what I was doing. And I just mentioned, some of the presentations that I was doing on STEAM, and they approved it. So it happened more or less by accident. But it's a really kind of fun way to infuse, my personal work with what's happening in the classroom, which was fun. So that's, a little idea of sort of how we merge some of these things together. One of the things, if you really want to do good STEAM work, it's important to respect each different discipline that you're working with. And I feel like the way to kind of bring it to the next level is collaboration. So, as a teacher in, high school, I found myself as an art teacher kind of alone in the room. Like there wasn't another art teacher around often because we were always booked at the same time. Being able to work with other teachers was really interesting, not just for the students, but for me, it keeps it fresh. I was learning new things myself. And then it always helps to kind of have a project that is important to the students. So I like to start with the classroom itself. It's always a really good STEAM project, redesigning the classroom to improve your learning. So what kind of learner are you? What kind of space is this? If you go to professional places like Google or Adobe, they're colorful, they're interesting, they're vibrant. And I kind of feel like classrooms should really be the same way. But for some reason, so often it's eggshell white, in the same sort of seating from the 1950s. So, just redesigning that. And you could use tools like augmented reality to actually pre-visualize that. You could have students design things and then show them in augmented reality and see what they would look like. And that's the sort of work that we were doing. It's always a good way to sort of start. And one of the things that is really helpful too is, taking it to the next level. So scaling it up. So one of the things that we did is we started some of the projects in the classroom, and then we wanted to go to the school. So we talked to the principal and the superintendent, and we looked at some of the underutilized spaces. Like our courtyard just wasn't being used that much, and we wanted to make sure that we kind of did some research, and we set up cameras to see like where people were going, and then we applied for a grant and received some money to be able to get some supplies, and then we made an outdoor classroom in that same space, which is really kind of fun and exciting. So that's one example. Another one is I mentioned the environment and how important that is. We have a project that we've been doing for a number of years where we actually started creating murals in the classroom, and then we did school murals talking about the environment and how important it was. And we focused on some of the local animals and fish that were affected. And then really kind of key was like, when you're working on a project that is for the school, it becomes really important, becomes something that students want to come back and visit, and it's really powerful. So sharing that out with the community is helpful. And then we decided, why not take the work right into the community? We had an idea to do a storm drain mural project. So this was a bigger undertaking. We needed to get permission from the town, and then we needed to get permission from the state and the EPA. But the students were part of every step of that process. So, the students presented, and it's really a good idea, because one of the things you find is that, like, the town mayor does not want to say no to a bunch of kids. So it is a good way to actually kind of get some of these things through. It was approved. It was a 2-year process, very long. We actually had to work with a paint company that makes the paint for the roads to be able to use the environmental friendly paint. And we're mixing it in ways that it was not really made to be mixed. So we had to learn how to do that, and the temperatures that worked and things like that. So again, I decided to make a website to share this work. So we started with a mural at the high school, and then we have a program now where we do another mural each year. So it's been, I think, 7 years. So we've been doing a mural each year. And we do them around the storm drains because here on Long Island, the water goes down the drain. It goes basically right back into our drinking water. So we work with the science teachers to learn about the environmental aspects of that. We work with the art teachers to design the actual message and making sure we're communicating it. We work with the English teachers as well. And then we work obviously with math teachers to actually do the designs. And, you need to do, when you're designing murals that are going to be placed, you need to kind of get the scaling right and some of those aspects. And then we actually work with the engineers in the EPA. So they actually shared, all the storm drains, how they connect and where they kind of go to. We live near a local river, which is also really interesting. So all of these different aspects kind of work together. And we did this project, we started doing it. And one of the things that you find when you do this kind of work is that a lot of people were just so thankful for the mural that, like that was the first thing, when you're putting up artwork in the community, they just loved the splash of color. And it made a difference in their day every day. And, it's fun watching all of the heads pop out of the windows. And it's great because the community now has a greater appreciation for what you're doing in the classroom. The message is there. So it does really help to have an example, and kind of once you do one, it becomes so powerful that, like, we actually started a school green team after that. It becomes empowering, and it kind of like snowballs into a much bigger piece, which is really exciting. So, it's a great project. And it's one that, if you want, all of the resources are there. You can go to my YouTube, and it's in my book as well. So here's a few of the different murals that we did. We actually focused on the otter first, because I don't know if you know this, it's something I learned I didn't know, but otters are only present in clean water. So, we had in our town otters that had come back after years of being away. And that just showed how clean the water is. You could see that we were doing it at one point during the pandemic as well, which was rough, but we persevered, and that was helpful. And then, it's a great project because so many of the students will actually, we've been doing it for a number of years now. So students graduate, go to college, come back to help us with this still. So it makes a really big difference. And again, it's really helpful. I would, say one really helpful piece of advice is documenting the process. So I have a video here where you're going to see the whole process here from the very beginning pieces when we're kind of going over the design and doing the research, using sketch notes to kind of share what we are learning. We did even beach cleanups and things like that to kind of get a better sense of the environment. And sort of like sharing all of this is really helpful in the process. So it does make a really big difference. And so students, get all of this learning, but it feels very authentic because they're making something that goes into the community and is going to be there for a long time. We use all different kinds of resources. One of the things I will say is that it's really great to connect with other people doing this kind of work or other groups. We worked with National Geographic. We worked with BOSEAT. There's a great group called Take Action Global that we worked with that Jen Williams runs, which is fantastic. And it's a great way you see the creativity that students are bringing to it. And like when I make these videos, I literally will ask students as they're working, what's one thing that you learned in this process? And they'll share their learning. And I think that's really helpful as well. So, looking at the sketches and how they develop and how we work together, this is where the math comes in. You could see that there's like 15 students working on the painting at this point. So making sure that everything is scaled right because, it's so large, some of them that you need to sort of stand back. This is one of the murals we did for the building. But it's one of the things that I find with people when they're dealing with art is, you get some people that have a little bit of resistance and like, I'm not an artist or I'm not creative. And I think it's important to kind of change that mindset that anyone could be creative. And, maybe you're not, someone who's going to love drawing, but maybe photography is your thing, or, maybe video or animation. I showed how simple it is to create an animation. That's something that anyone could do. And so, art is often about communication and storytelling. And I think that's what is at the heart of these kind of projects. And this is really what's really fun about that kind of merger, because you can kind of see it's making a difference. It's making an impact in the community. And it really makes a big impact in the school. So kids remember. So here's a little clip of that final piece there. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed all that. I have lots of QR codes and examples in my book, along with different lessons. So, not just, full lessons. I also like to have creative challenges. That's one of my fun things to do. I found that students were a little resistant to doing homework, but if I called it a creative challenge, they were more open to it. So, once a week, I will actually have students do something that focuses on creativity. So for example, create a self-portrait without using any art materials, like look around the room. What do you find? Make a self-portrait out of that. So it makes you think out of the box. It's a fun creative exercise that kind of sharpens that muscle of creativity. It makes it a little bit easier to do some of this work. So it's a lot of fun. I'm also on all social media, Tim Needles. So if you want to reach out and connect, I'd love to. I always love working with everyone. I'm a fan of NCCE and all of the cool work that everyone is doing, and of course the conference. So, it's always great to share this work. And one of the nice things about writing a book and putting it out in the world is that you connect with lots of different people that's have lots of different fantastic ideas, and it's a lot of fun to connect in that way. So hopefully you could take some of the resources. The YouTube, I'm always putting up new videos, new challenges, and documenting the process of some of these STEAM projects so that other people could actually use them, which is fun. I also one of the other things is really empowering students to be able to tell the story. So, we also do like a TED Talk program that's really helpful at helping students tell the story. So it's not just me doing it. And that's also a good way to kind of share if you want to do like a TEDx program at school. So I hope you guys enjoyed, all these resources and projects. And let me know if you have any questions.
Well, that is utterly amazing. I mean, the thing that stood out to me as an educator is when you said, we just went to the city council or the mayor and we said, here's what the kids want to do. What are they going to do? Say no to kids? And I think a lot of times we see these roadblocks when we teachers have some ideas of what we might be able to, provide for kids. And oftentimes we, pay for it out of our own pocket. But we just have to get over that fear, right? Of asking people in the community, hey, can we do this? How did you find the courage to do that?
It's funny. One of the things is when you're collaborating with other people, you get to run these ideas by, each other, and it kind of empowers you because it's like, I don't know that I would have done it myself. But when they showed the artwork to the mayor, we ended up with an art show in City Hall. So, I mean, he didn't just say yes, he put up the artwork for 2 years. So,
oh my gosh,
it's really amazing.
That artwork's amazing. I can see why that would sell it. And you said you also went out and got some grants?
Yeah, that's really helpful. So if you want to do some of this work, grants are really helpful. And like,
how did you find them?
We're in a weird world of grants right now because a lot of them are canceled. I just had like 5 of them canceled, unfortunately. But like, I think a lot of the ed tech groups now have grants. Even some of the ed tech companies will offer grants. Even if they don't have grants, sometimes present the project and say like, hey, are you interested in supporting this? And, people want to support good ideas. So a lot of the colleges and universities do have these. And, AI is actually pretty good at helping you sort through some of these as well, and as well as filling them out, of course.
Yeah, I've also noticed, here in California, the CTA, the California Teachers Association, has grants for that kind of project. So I don't know if they do in New York.
Yeah, you never know until you look, because it's like there's lots of, it's that kind of thing that like when I reached out to New York State, there were resources for that, and they actually are trying to put it in, like New York, New Jersey just put in environmental standards. So it's like it kind of like pairs perfectly with what they wanted to do anyway.
Oh, see, that's perfect. I mean, that's really the message that you've got for teachers is don't be afraid, just try things.
It's
be creative.
Great message.
Yeah,
I have in my classroom, be unafraid.
Oh, you do up in your classroom?
Yeah, I put really large letters, be unafraid. I think that's my message.
Gosh. Yeah. I had be fearless.
Oh, there you go. Well, hey,
I love it. Okay, that's so awesome. Simpatico. Tim, what a pleasure to have you on the show today, and hopefully we'll see you at the next NCCE conference next year, 2026, in February again, late February. So thank you for your time and your talent. We really appreciate you being on the show. And everyone, this is not our last one. We intend to go through summer, so join us next month, second Thursday of the month, for Live from NCCE, and we'll have another amazing guest. Maybe not as amazing as Tim, but you never know. Thanks everyone for being here. Have a great day, evening.
Have a good one.